and welcome to Cyber Focus, your source for international business information. My name is Sarah Coe, and you're watching the second session of our two-part series on disability awareness in the workplace. And today our guest is Mr. Frank Epperson. Now, for more than 15 years, Mr. Epperson has dedicated his life and work to help people with disabilities find and maintain jobs on IU campuses. Currently, he is the school's ADA employment consultant, and his work entitles him to assist potential new hires and existing employees with disabilities to find fitting programs and services they need. Now, while also making sure that their right to work is culturally accepted and legally protected. Passion for this line of work stems from his firsthand experience in a wheelchair, but the wheels haven't stopped him from anything. He's a two-time former Paralympic and an avid ballroom dancer. So today we continue our discourse about raising proper awareness about people and employees with disabilities in workplaces. Mr. Epperson will share with us his personal story and why he believes it's important that employers see beyond external limitations and reevaluate everyone's ability and unfulfilled potential. So Frank, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for asking.
Of course. So you have obviously invested almost close to 2 decades in the work that you're doing. So I'm very interested to hear your story and how you came to hold the position that you are in now.
How I came to hold the position that I'm in now. Well, I started, before this position, I was a job coach. Employment consultant, I think are called now. But what that meant was that I assisted persons with disabilities in preparing for finding, learning, and then keeping jobs. I worked with an agency. And then a friend of mine found an ad for this position. And I put in for it. And, I applied and went through the process. And I'm the first to hold this position. It was a part of someone else's position, but then they decided, the university decided that there was much more to this than a part-time. And as I've been here and as I've, attempted and I would like to say, or like to think, successfully shown that IU is a great place to work, not just for people, people with disabilities, people without disabilities, all sorts of people. That's part of the employment process, is expanding who it is that we look at as potential employees.
That's wonderful. So you've obviously, we've all seen different legal provisions and cultural changes that have come with employees and workplaces that employ people with disabilities. What do you think are some of the commendable and successful ones that you've seen thus far?
Well, as far as legislation goes, there's absolutely no doubt that the Americans with Disabilities Act is the premier piece. And I say this for multiple reasons, but to drill down a little bit, I would say the big thing is that it levels the playing field. The Americans with Disabilities Act says that if you are a person that has a condition that substantially limits one or more major life activities, then you can request an accommodation in regards to employment. And that's all aspects of employment, from the application process to performing the essential functions of the position, to having access to the same benefits, the same training as persons without disabilities. You don't get, and it's wide open. You don't get any better than that, because then you can tailor it to every situation. You're not trying to fit into a box, because there is no box. What there is you have this person here who is capable of working. What can we do to level the playing field, to knock down barriers? Okay, let's talk about what that looks like. And then when we find those things, let's put them in place.
Very interesting. So I think you put it in a great phrase there, putting down barriers or knocking those barriers down. And speaking of barriers, I mean, like we mentioned, there's different ways we can change public perceptions. But what do you think both the public organizations and private corporations can do more in order to change these negative perceptions or misunderstandings that they might have employing or just having people with disabilities in their workplaces?
There are multiple things we can do. I'll highlight a couple. First part, I'm thinking, the way I see things is disability is part of diversity. It's not disability and diversity. Disability is a part of diversity. So it needs to be included with everything else, not an also ran, as we used to say in the track, in track. It's not an add-on. It's an integral part of diversity. The other thing is we need to look at successes. We need to look at where people can be a success and what we can therefore learn from those individuals. Because everybody has potential and everybody can provide value to that organization in some way.
Now, lastly, if you could give any advice to either employers who are a bit hesitant hiring people with disabilities, or even a person with disability who might be watching this, who's uneasy about applying for a position because something, a disability that he or she has, what would those advice be?
To people with disabilities who are looking for employment, looking to improve their employment, I say go. Because if you don't, the answer is an automatic no. Okay? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Okay? And to employers, I say look at all of the resources that are out there. Whether we're talking the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, whether we're talking about the Job Accommodation Network, whether we're talking about the ADA Steering Committee for the state of Indiana, which I happen to be on, ADA Indiana, which is housed in the Indiana Institute on Disability and Community. All of these resources, they're all there. They want to provide you with information that you need in order to make those people and your relationship with those people a success. Because all of us want to be valued. And what a great thing to do to show someone else that, hey, guess what? This is going to work. We've figured these things out. Let's do this.
Absolutely. Frank, we really appreciate your time coming in here and, of course, your great insights.
Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Of course. Well, that's all for this edition of Cyber Focus and the end to our two-part series on disability awareness in the workplace. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any comments or suggestions for future topics, please let us know at CIBER, that's CIBER, @indiana.edu.